anxiety. Okay. Look. You got me thinking if it was really worth it, putting in all of this effort just to end up less than perfect. But are not great defenses something used for our protection? Or are they just another way to force out imperfections? I guess I'm just defective, pointed in the wrong direction. The library in my head is one fucked up selection. Now children pay attention and you'll receive attention, cause after this I'll ask you an array of questions. Alright, hey guys, welcome to the 40 Ounce Fridays podcast. Welcome back if you're one of the few listeners, and welcome if you're new. At this point, hopefully we should also be up on Apple Podcast. I just got approved to link the Podbean account up with that. So by the time this goes up, it should be linked to Apple Podcast. If not, it probably will just take a couple more days. They said it'd be about 2 days before the podcast would be searchable on Apple Podcasts. So it's Thursday as of this recording, the 23rd, so it should be up later tomorrow or Saturday. If it doesn't count on the weekends, then Monday. I don't know, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, welcome back. This is episode 42. 42. It is episode 42. Wow. Holy shit. Okay. Hope everyone's having a good week. One thing I just recently found out, due to the fact that when I first started doing the podcast, I recorded through the app on my phone, and so when I did that, it only let me record 90 minutes of audio, so I just assumed you could only upload 90 minutes of audio to Podbean regardless. No, you can upload more than that. Your podcast can be a couple hours if you want it to be. It was just the fact that the app itself that I was using on the phone, the Podbean app, only let me record 90 minutes of audio. I can upload longer. As I found out last week with the Final Fantasy VII Remake review, that was like a 2-hour video, or a 2-hour video, 2-hour podcast. So I could do more than that. So that's going to help a lot more with the pacing of episodes and how things go along. It's good to note. Podcast probably won't go more than an hour and a half, but it's nice to know that I can go over an hour and a half in recording, so I don't have to try to rush things along for time constraints. I'm still probably going to limit them down to about an hour and a half. That's what ideally I like, just because I feel like that's a good ideal time, between like an hour and a half. But when I do reviews for like games in the future and things like that, I'll probably still have them be longer reviews, like the 2-hour one, like the Final Fantasy VII Remake, just because I'll have a lot more to say during those. But anywho, today we will be going over episodes 14 and 15 of Yu Yu Hakusho, and that'll not continue the Rando arc. We concluded the Rando arc 2 weeks ago. We'll be starting the Four Saint Beast arc this week. So we'll be doing the first 2 episodes of the Four Saint Beast arc in this one episode, and then next week we should be back on a 1-episode retrospective basis, and then I'll do the Bleach arc tier list that week as well. But before that, just a few little quick things, quick news stuff. The last week I did the Final Fantasy VII Remake review, so if you want to check that out if you haven't. I know it's a longer video, it's like our video podcast. I keep saying video just because I look at the audio settings and all that, so I'm viewing it. But yeah, that podcast is longer. It's like 30-40 minutes longer than what I normally do, but it is like my first kind of like full review, something I would consider an actual review on my part, rather than just me rambling about how much I enjoyed a game. I like talked about the audio, the visuals, the gameplay, the storyline, just features, and the ending, of course, too. We talked about that and like theories as to what might happen in part 2. So if you're interested in that and just, want another person's opinion about the game, I have that up. I really liked making that video. It was fun to do, especially considering that Final Fantasy VII is one of my favorite games of all time, and I love the remake. Though I wasn't like the biggest fan of the ending either, I am hopeful and welcome the change like I always have been for the remake project. So we'll see how that goes. So if you want to check that out, go ahead and check that out. Another bit of news. There are rumors going around that a Dragon Ball Z live action show is in the works with Disney. This is false. I don't know why this article is popping up again. This article appeared almost the same exact snippet of news from whatever fucking site it was. It's the same thing. It's the same. This appeared like months ago and it was already debunked. So I don't know why it's popping up again. But people have been spreading it around again that Disney or someone is in the works of making a live-action Dragon Ball show. That is false. That is not happening at all. This is already debunked a long time ago, like I said, but when I saw the article link, I was like, why is this being shown again? Because it wasn't even, like, different. It was, like, the same title, like, the same headline, and the same picture from the fake article, like, I want to say like 4 or 5 months ago. It was a while back, dude. And I was just like, first of all, no, this would never happen. We already had a live action failure. I don't think they're really going to try again anytime soon. If they were going to try again, I feel like we'll know, like Toei themselves or some kind of, it'd be a bigger announcement than like a news leak of like, oh, it's in the works. It's like, no, it's not happening. So, please don't believe that. That shit is fake. It's absolutely fake. I will be shocked if it's real, and I will, next week on the podcast or something, just say, like, oh, I was wrong. It was real. But the old article was debunked, and this is, like, pretty much the same article, so I really doubt it. What I believe is a real piece of news, though, is that a One Punch Man movie is a live-action film adaptation is in the works, in development. No, don't do this, please. I'm pretty sure this one is true, confirmed to be true. I've seen enough people source it and actually discuss it online, and I haven't heard a single person, like, debunk it yet. The Dragon Ball one, it was debunked almost immediately, so that was one thing. But One Punch Man is pretty popular, especially modern day. It's one of the newer shows that people liked, even though not a lot of people were feeling the animation of part 2 of season 2 of it because of the studio change. But still, it's a pretty big series, pretty popular franchise. It had a shitty video game that came out a month or two ago. That game is garbage, don't get it. But it plays like shit, is what I'm saying. I didn't get it, but I played some, beta demo stuff, and I've seen enough reviews and gameplay to know that it wasn't getting any better than that. But anywho, yeah, live action One Punch Man movie I don't know. I'm hopeful. I'm always hopeful of live action, You don't want things to be bad, but the live action film adaptations for anime has a huge track record of being bad. And then there's people that were saying, like, Hollywood always is ruining anime. Just let the live action stuff be handled by Japan. No! Just because a live action film is made in Japan, like where it's sourced from, does not mean it's going to be good. Full Metal Alchemist was made in Japan, right? The live action movie? That movie was not good. I think Attack on Titan, that was made in Japan as well. Live action adaptations of those. Not good. Bleach I've heard mixed things about. I still haven't watched it. I think it's on Netflix, so I might give it a shot. I've heard people say it's pretty solid. I've heard people say that it sucked. But I've heard mixed things about that. The Tokyo Ghoul one I've heard is fantastic, honestly. I heard that's probably like one of the better film adaptations. The Rurouni Kenshin live action film adaptations are good. Not a lot of people are talking about Rurouni Kenshin as much now due to the controversy with the author. If you don't know, look it up. I think I've talked about it before, but I ain't gonna talk about it right now. So it's a mixed bag for Japan, but it's still more negative reception overall. So just because it's made in Japan doesn't mean the live action is going to be good. You guys need to stop thinking that America's the problem. I don't think America's the problem. I just think most anime, like most animation in general, in fact, does not translate well to live action. It just doesn't. something's off. Like, it loses whatever it had. So, we'll see how One Punch Man goes. Maybe they'll do a good job. I doubt they will, but I'm very hopeful that things go well, because I heard the Sonic movie was great. I still need to watch it. Eventually I will. And I really enjoyed Detective Pikachu. That was like one of my first podcasts way back. I think it might have been one of the testing podcast episodes, like way back when I was recording on my phone and I didn't have a mic and all that shit. So, you know, earlier last year, or summer of 2019, around that point. Yeah. But I like Detective Pikachu, but we'll see. We'll see about that. I'm also thinking, since I have more time inside, and I want to try to watch more anime films. I haven't watched anime films in a while. I think the last one I like really sat down to watch was Your Name, and that was a few years ago. So I need to watch a few movies. I haven't seen A Silent Voice. I heard that movie's fucking great. I need to watch it. I want to watch, what's it called, Promare? It's on YouTube to like buy or rent, so I might watch that. The Night is Long, Walk On Girl. My good friends who also do a podcast on Podbean, they haven't uploaded in a while. Hopefully they start up again for Cartoon Fridays. They did like a little podcast episode review of the film, and it sounded really good, so I want to watch. There's a couple of movies that I need to catch, so I'll try to do that, maybe talk about them on the podcast, but that's in general news going on. Last bit of news that's actual news. If you are a fan of the Naruto Ninja Storm games, I have mixed feelings about them, especially the last one in the series, Storm 4. I think combat-wise, that game is the best out of all the Storm games, but feature-wise, it's the most lacking of all the Storm games, so that kind of sucked. But I always say, if you can get the Storm like Legacy Collection, go for it, especially if it's discounted, or if you can get Storm 4 with the like Boruto package added onto it, especially at a discount, go for it, because it's definitely worth having if you're a Naruto fan and you want like kind of like a fun Naruto experience with a bunch of characters. That game has a bunch of characters, and the game is really pretty. So I don't know about the online. I don't know if Storm 4's online improved or not. It used to. When it came out, it was ass. I don't know if it got any better. And the Boruto expansion was disappointing personally for me, but we'll see how things go. I think it's worth getting now just because it's discounted, especially if you can bundle it with the Legacy Collection to get all 4 Storm games, the main ones. But what I'm getting at is Storm 4 is releasing on Switch, finally. We were waiting for it because Storms 1, 2, and 3 of the Trilogy Collection were on the Switch store, but 4 in the Legacy Collection were not. But they are getting a Switch version and it's going to have all the DLC from Storm 4, including the Boruto expansion. It's also going to have new costumes for the other kids from Shippuden, like Shikamaru, Tamari, Hinata, but it'll be their adult forms. They're costumes, though. They're not going to have new movesets, they're just costumes. But 2 new characters will be available, Momoshiki and Kinshiki, from the Boruto movie. The Boruto movie versions, not the Boruto anime versions, which are arguably the better versions of them. But Boruto is not that great of an anime, but Momoshiki and Kinshiki in the anime were a lot better, I think. Was Momoshiki the big dude with the beard? Was he in the show? I've only seen clips and like certain episodes of that part of blah blah blah. But yeah, that game's coming out tomorrow. So does Switch do early releases? Does Switch do like the 9 p.m. the day before thing? I think they do. So it's $50. I personally think it should have been $40, but I think the reason why they're making it $50 for the Switch for that Switch release is because they're adding the costumes and the 2 new characters. So the 2 new characters, Momoshiki and Kinshiki, that are finally playable. They should have made more characters playable personally, but I think they're gonna be DLC for all other versions so like Xbox, PS4, and PC. I think you'll be able to purchase them DLC as well as the costumes, but if you buy the Switch version, you get all that stuff in the Switch version, and it's $50. So up to you how you feel about that. I might get it. I've been thinking about getting it. I've been debating it. If you pre-order it, you get early unlocks for the costumes, characters, and then the 2 new characters. I might do that after I record. I'm still on the fence about it just because I have mixed feelings about Storm 4. But also, if I pre-order it, I don't have to play through that story mode anymore. That story mode was awful. It was like cutscenes from the anime, but they were like still frames that slightly shifted here and there. They just didn't put a lot of effort in Storm 4, and I feel like they advertised as they did, but they didn't. But if you want Storm 4, you can get Storm 4 on your Switch. I don't know how it's going to perform. Probably better than Jump Force. Jump Force performance is god-awful on any console or PC, so the Switch version I have no faith in. And a Season 2 pass for Jump Force I have no faith in. I talked about that last week. Jump Force was getting a Season 2 pass, or 2 weeks ago. And I still think that's nothing to get too excited about. Jump Force is not a good game already. So adding more characters to your bad game does not make your bad game better. It's just a bad game with more characters that play the same, arguably. It's really button mashy and cheese filled. And I'm not to say Storm isn't button mashy, but it has more variety to it. It's more fluid. It looks better in terms of just visual appeal. Like Jump Force tried to look realistic, and a lot of it just looks really awkward or ugly. And I'll save that when I actually properly review Jump Force. Jump Force isn't a good game. I don't care what anyone says. People are just like, who cares about all the extra features when such and such and such and such? It's just a fun anime game to play with your friends. That game is indeed fun if you play with a friend, because you guys can joke around and clown around and play as your favorite shonen jump characters. But if your game requires you to have a certain like setup or a certain group of people to play with to be good, then your game probably isn't good. People can make a shitty situation good depending on how things go. That situation is still shitty. Like you can't, that's a weak argument to me. People are just like, it's just a game where you're supposed to fuck around with your friends. Who cares about the story? But I do, because they added it. If you're gonna add a story mode, make the story mode fun, or don't add the story mode. If you're gonna add like missions or ranked or whatever, make those enjoyable. You can say those don't matter to you, and more power to you. If you like Jump Force and have a good time on Jump Force, I'm glad you do. I'm glad you feel like your money was well spent. Because I don't want people to waste their money. I recommend not buying it, but if you bought it and liked it, that's on you. That's fine. I'm saying that if you add a feature to a game, you should take the effort to make that feature good. It doesn't matter if you say, oh, well, who cares about the story mode? It doesn't matter if it's bad or not. That's not the point of the game. But it's a part of the game. You put it in. So I'm going to judge it because it's there. I'm not going to say who cares about the story. You added a fucking story mode. Like, if you're going to make a story mode, make it fun. If you're going to make side missions, make them fun. If you're going to add customization features, make them good. If you're going to add online, make the online good. You shouldn't have had to patch in a rematch feature for online post-launch. That's ridiculous. I'm getting off topic. Let's get to the Yu Yu Hakusho reviews, because I'm about to blow up on Jump Force. Oh my god. Okay, let's just move along. That's it for the quick news. If that's how I already feel, you can probably guess how this Jump Force review is going to go the day I get to it. It's going to be a while before we get there, but when we get there, oh boy. Well, fuck that game, bro. Anywho, Yu Yu Retrospective. So, we're doing a double episode retrospective again this week, because last week I only did the Final Fantasy VII Remake review. So, I didn't do anything else, so we didn't get a retrospective. But I think that worked out, because the week before that, we did a double episode that finished the Rando arc. So now we have a double episode that starts the Force 8 Beast arc. So I feel like those splits in between, they worked out for the best. They weren't intentional, but they worked out for the best. So, episode 14, The Beast of Maze Castle. So, this takes place, this arc starts off 6 months after Yusuke wins the Genkai tournament, defeats Rando, and is forced to train under Genkai, even though he really didn't want to. So we start off, we're in the city, Keiko's visiting Yusuke's mom, and she's like, yeah, Yusuke hasn't come back yet. He calls every now and then to let me know that he, is still alive, but he's still not home. So Keiko's kind of worried, she's kind of annoyed, because she's waiting on him again. He died, and she had to wait a few days for him to come back. Very unusual circumstances, but nonetheless, she still had to wait. And now she hasn't seen him in 6 months. So this is a 6 month time skip. And I think people forget that time skip happened, because people are like, I mean, all this stuff in Yu Yu Hakusho happened so fast. I'm like, it did, but at the same time, it didn't. Some of the stuff is just like, damn, it's only been a year for them, huh? This and that. But then you gotta think, like, damn, it's really been a year. Like, 6 months of training for Yusuke. So, he's powered up and ready to go. So, Keiko's walking, she's thinking about it, she's frustrated. And boom, who shows up? Your boy Yusuke. So, he's all dirty and dusty, and Keiko's super excited. So they go out on the city, she's getting them ice cream. And Kuwabara meets up with them off screen, so when we get to that next transition, Kuwabara and Yusuke are talking at a bench while Keiko's getting drinks, or I forget exactly what it was. She was getting something for them. But Kuwabara's talking, he's just like, damn, bro, so you've been gone training for a while, and, Yusuke was asking about Kuwabara, how his wounds were, that he feels how he feels, and Kuwabara's just like, it's like I didn't even have my entire fucking body shattered and mangled, so that's a plus. And he says he feels even stronger, and like he can take Yusuke on, and Yusuke's just like, boy, no. I'd be arrested if I fought you. So Kuwabara's like, well, is it really that bad? And then we flash back, Yusuke flashes back on some moments of his training. And, like, they're, like, doing this whole thing where they have to keep one finger on top of a spike while they're, like, upside down doing, like, the little kind of, like, sit-up pose. Crazy shit like that. And he has to control his spirit energy to make sure the spike doesn't impale his finger. And Genkai's like, we'll hold this for such and such ridiculous amount of hours. And she's like, this will teach you how to block energy attacks. This might kill you. So we just see these clips, these little pieces of Yusuke's training, and they look like, oh damn, this was tough, but we don't see how exactly tough the training was. We don't get the whole picture. Yusuke's like, I meditated over a bonfire, I did this and that. He starts naming stuff, but there's no animation, there's no scene that shows it. He's just describing it, and Kuwabara cuts him off. He's like, yo, I don't want to hear any more of that shit. That shit sounds awful. So we don't exactly know the full details of Genkai's training, but what we do know from what Yusuke said and from those little bits of flashbacks, that the shit just didn't stop. Like, he was pushed to his limit 24/7. It didn't seem like he ever got a break for 6 months, which explains the drastic increase we see when he ends up fighting Suzaku at the end of the Maze Castle arc. So they're talking, they're walking down the street, living their normal school lives, and Yusuke's like, look, Kuwabara, we're being followed. And they turn, they see these school kids kind of like stalking them, like gang shit. And one thing I think about is, how did this group of school kids even trail them this long before they like really noticed? It was like 6 of them. So I was just like, how the fuck are you guys following them undetected? That's a big group of people. Also, Yusuke and Kuwabara are delinquents, like the toughest delinquents at their school. So you would think they would already be used to having to look over their shoulder when they're walking down the street. Like, we saw Kuwabara's case. He picks fights with anybody, so people would walk down the street, see Kuwabara, and want to beat him up. Because Kuwabara beat them up. So they ditch Keiko. They run off doing their own thing, saying they'll be back in a few minutes, which they thought was going to happen, but doesn't happen. And they lead him to an alley. Kuwabara's talking his talk. Then one of these niggas pulls out a knife, and Kuwabara's like, yo, nigga, whoa, wait a minute. So Kuwabara's not fully invested in the spiritual stuff. Like, of course he has a spirit sword, but that's about it. So he's not fully used to seeing demons quite yet. He didn't even really, like, consciously see Rando in his demon form. So as of now, Kuwabara hasn't seen a demon yet. So it made sense. It makes sense that Kuwabara would already be kind of nervous about a knife because he's still kind of used to normal life. But Yusuke's just like, alright, back up and let me show you how this shit is done. Yusuke mad flexes his newest technique, the Spirit Shotgun. Spirit Shotgun is a cool technique that we see all of 4 times in 112 episodes. And after season 1, we never see this move again. Or at least Yusuke never uses the move again. At the start of season 2. No, the Dark Tournament, that episode, I think that episode is still season 1. I think that's the last episode of season 1. Technically. So yeah, we never see Shotgun again after season 1. That's wild. I don't ever recall seeing it. But for those who don't quite remember from Yu Yu Hakusho, or if you listen to the retrospectives and soak in all these spoilers because you don't want to watch the show, I don't understand why you don't want to watch the show or read the manga. Maybe you should go ahead and do that if you haven't. But the Spirit Shotgun is essentially a variation of the Spirit Gun. So by channeling a massive spirit energy in kind of like his fist and firing it out, Yusuke shoots like a bunch of mini Spirit Gun kind of bullets out in a spread. So it's like a shotgun. So it should be a close range technique. That's what it seems more like, close to mid range. That's what it's always been used for, the few times it was used. And it's great for crowd control. So if you're getting ganged up on, you can fire that and get everyone the fuck out of your way. But the joke about shotgun and a lot of techniques that we see in like later seasons of Yu Yu Hakusho, like specified techniques, we never fucking see again. Like a lot of techniques only get used once, or maybe like a few times within an arc or a season, and then we never see again. And Spirit Shotgun is one of them shotgun we see. I think Yusuke does it like 3 or 4 times, and then Genkai does it once during the last episode of season 1, and then we never see it again. I don't think Yusuke used it a single time during the Dark Tournament. If he did, I could be wrong, but I don't ever recall him using it during the Dark Tournament. But Yusuke also has improved his skills to... he can fire more than one Spirit Gun a day. Before, when he shot the Spirit Gun, he couldn't use it again until 24 hours went through. And that's because he wasn't very well trained in spirit energy. He had recently obtained that kind of spiritual awareness and energy and things of that nature. So he would fire a bullet and be completely drained. Through the 6 months of training, Yusuke now has 4 shots, 1 in each finger, so it doesn't count as thumb. Is it 4 or is it 5? I think it's 4. I'm pretty sure it's 4. It's 1 for each finger, and they don't count the thumb. So he has energy channeled in each. So it's like bullets. He has ammo for his Spirit Gun, which I always thought was cool as fuck. And it kind of stays that way for him until the last season, where you see he's able to fire way more than 4. I don't think it's ever addressed that he can fire way more than 4, but he clearly can. We see it happen. He fires like 20 in one fight. It's fucking wild. But yeah, throughout the series from this point on, Yusuke has 4 Spirit Gun shots, and it doesn't seem like the shotgun counts as a part of those 4 Spirit Gun shots. I don't think so, at least. I think they don't count it. I don't think he's ever been in a situation where you could look at it and see if it counted, though. So, I don't know about all that. But anywho, that's the spirit. Oh, one thing I wanted to point out that I never really thought about until now. I don't know why it crossed my mind when I was watching the episode the other day, or yesterday. Yusuke never uses a shotgun again after season 1, right? But it would have been so handy in his fight against Sensui. And I don't know why I never thought of this. I don't think I've ever heard anyone like bring this particular idea up. When Sensui does his what's it called? I forget what his technique is called, where he kicks that ball of spirit energy and it turns into multiple blasts that fire at you in a spread. Yusuke could have countered that move with a shotgun, because that's essentially what shotgun is. He takes that spirit energy and fires it in a spread of mini spirit gun blast. And Sensui kicks that ball of spirit energy and it causes it to split apart into multiple blasts. So it's like, why didn't he use that to counter and and it's just clearly Togashi just, forgot. Yeah, it's whatever. It's not a big deal. It's not like a plot hole or anything. It's just something I thought of. But a good inter-universe thing that would be totally valid is Yusuke just straight up forgot he had the shotgun. I could totally believe if they said that. I could totally believe Yusuke been like, oh yeah, I could do that, huh? Because Yusuke's kind of fucking stupid. He's like a battle genius and clever, but in terms of intelligence, he's not super smart, so I could definitely see that being a thing. So, back to the episode. I spiraled on a tangent. Yusuke lays out all these dudes, and then we have this kind of funny moment I always laugh at, where it's just like, these niggas kind of look weird, right? They look a little pale, they don't look normal. So it's just like, Kuwabara's like, I'm picking up on some weird energy, like someone's watching us. Like someone like that, and they turn around and point, and there's this dude in the corner in like a trench coat and a top hat just watching them, and he's like, oh shit, and he starts sprinting. I don't know why. That shit is always hilarious to me, because it's such a tense kind of moment. Like there's a bit of tension in the air. It's just like, this is weird. What's going on? It's like something over there, and then this dude's just in the cut, like, huh. So they're chasing him, trying to catch him. And as the dude's running, he runs into Botan, who lays his ass clean out. Botan in a cool little leather jacket, pants, jumpsuit kind of getup, looking like she's ready to fight Nakira. She shows up to help. Kuwabara's love struck over her. This is pre-Yukina, so you gotta remember that he's just digging on Botan right now. Guess he had a thing for blue-haired girls. But Botan's informing Yusuke what's going on, and that this stuff is involving his next case, which Yusuke wants no fucking part of. He's just like, yo, I just got back from training with that old lady. Can I live? Can I live? And I feel it, like, ain't no rest for the wicked. So he has to keep going. He has to get on this next case, because not only the city, but the world might be threatened by what's going on. And Botan informs Yusuke of the city of ghosts and apparitions, where a castle is called Maze Castle. In Maze Castle are 4 demons known as the Four Saint Beast. These demons are powerful, are held up in this castle, and cannot leave due to spirit world regulations. And so people are the spirits and other apparitions and demons and such worship them from the castle as like holy, like saints or beasts, like gods to them. That's why they're called the Four Saint Beasts. The Four Saint Beasts are also based off the 4 cardinal directions. I believe it's what it's called in Chinese. I think it dates back to like Chinese mythology, but there's a Japanese adaptation and mythos of it as well. So you have like the 4 cardinal directions, where there's kind of like a deity or some sort of like god or guardian of each direction. So I don't remember which direction goes with which specifically, so I don't want to say them because I could be wrong by 1 or 2. But you have one direction, you have Genbu, you have Seiryu, you have Byakko, and you have Suzaku. So each one is kind of like this deity, godly animal. So like Genbu is supposed to be kind of like a turtle, snake hybrid kind of thing. Byakko is a white tiger. Seiryu is a dragon, and Suzaku is a phoenix. So each one of these is that's where the names come from, and that's another reason why they're referred to as the Four Saint Beasts, just because of their mythological references and roots. But they're threatening the world of the living. They have demands. They want free access into the living world. They want to be able to leave the castle. If they can't gain access to the living world, if it's not allowed for them to leave, they're going to flood these things known as Makai insects into the world of the living, starting with the city Yusuke is living in. And it infects people. Normally, starting infection, these bugs only go into the minds of depressed people. So people, I guess, kind of with like low self-esteem seem more easily susceptible to this parasite, this kind of bug. They crawl inside you, and they kind of make you angry and hostile and kind of like this mindless, angry zombie kind of thing, which is what those students were. And the guy that Botan laid out is kind of like a demon, like a little assistant that's working for the Force Name Beast. So he's monitoring events and probably reporting back to Maze Castle directly. So Yusuke's next case is to infiltrate Maze Castle, take out the 4 beasts, and get the whistle. The main objective is to get the whistle, but to get it, you're probably going to have to take down the Force Name Beast. So if they take the Makai whistle, the Makai insects are no longer a threat, and they'll just die off on their own. So while they're gone, Botan is going to do her best to try to take care of the bugs going on in the city. The bug problem going on in the city, in fact. So Botan's able to help them find a little secret entrance that'll lead them just on the outskirts of Maze Castle. So Yusuke really doesn't want to go, but Kuwabara's gung-ho as fuck about it. He's like, dude, let's do it. Let's go. Because Yusuke's like, I don't want to go alone. This sounds like a suicide mission. And Kuwabara's like, yo, what about me? And Botan's trying to, talk him out of it. She's like, no, Kuwabara, demons don't, they don't exist. And Kuwabara's like, look, you can't try to play like this shit isn't happening. Dangerous stuff's going on. I'm not going to leave it to your Meshi to handle it. I've got some powers too. I'm more used to seeing ghosts and spirits. I'm more spiritually aware than Yusuke. And I'm a man with a sword. So, Kuwabara, the legendary, the greatest character of all time. He's down. He's down. He's like ready for it. He doesn't want to just leave it in the hands of Yusuke, which is indeed a smart idea. Kuwabara does play a big helping hand in a few events that happen in Maze Castle. More events than people give Kuwabara credit for, I also might add. I feel like the Kuwabara slander is especially rampant in the Yu Yu Hakusho fandom itself, and that's something I will not stand for. Alright? You respect Kuwabara. Drop my phone, that's how passionate I am. You respect Kazuma Kuwabara in all he does. That's a real nigga. It's my boy. So he's ready. Yusuke still doesn't want to go. Botan's like, look, Kuwabara, you don't have to go. She's like, you don't have to go if you don't have to. It's okay. Don't worry about it. And Yusuke's like, cool, I'll leave. And Botan's like, no, not you. You go. So Kuwabara's like, nah, fuck it. In fact, I feel more like a spirit detective myself. Which is a dynamic I really like in Season 1. I've brought it up before. I really like when Kuwabara and Yusuke kind of go on cases together, or like Kuwabara just happens to be there, because I like their dynamic. Yusuke and Kuwabara's dynamic is really solid, because they start off as these kind of rival things. This one-sided rivalry that turns into this rivalry that Yusuke acknowledges, even though he's far superior to Kuwabara, that grows into more of a friendship. And that's why Yusuke and Kuwabara are best friends. And I loved it, especially in the Yukina rescue. That shit was great. Their fucking banter is amazing. And I wish we got more of that. It sucks that we didn't, but you know how it is. It is what it is. So Kuwabara jumps in, and Yusuke's like, alright, here we go. So they dive in, and they land, indeed, just outside of Maze Castle. While this is going on, Koema's like, patiently watching and trying to keep surveillance of the scene, because this is dangerous. If this is kept unchecked and the Makai insects infect the world, it could destroy the world. So, it's a race against the clock. They don't have a lot of time. They have to go in and get this shit done. This isn't one of the slower cases like with the 3 artifacts. Well, even that was a race against the clock, but at least Yusuke had a few days. Yusuke has to do this shit now. So they land outside, and they see the castle off in the distance. They're about to go, and these weird hooded like figures. They kind of remind me of what are those fucking people called in Star Wars? You guys know what I'm talking about. Why am I forgetting their names? You know what I'm talking about. The little guys that grab their scrap and they're just like, yeah. I don't know why I'm forgetting their names. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on it. They remind me of that. But they just pop up out of the ground and they surround Yusuke and Kuwabara, and essentially what they want to do is eat them. So Yusuke and Kuwabara are fighting them off, and it's not like these guys are very strong. It's just the fact that there's so many of them, they're quickly being overwhelmed. So Kuwabara gets like surrounded and pinned up against a tree, and they all kind of like pounce on him, and he's trying to pull them off, and Yusuke's like, fuck, okay, I'm coming to help. And then more of them try to jump on Yusuke, and he's trying to punch them off, but then they eventually dogpile him and gather around him, and Yusuke's like, fuck, we're gonna die, and we didn't even get to the castle yet. And I remember there's this GBA game called, I think it's just called Yu Yu Hakusho Spirit Detective or Ghost Files or something like that. It's for the Game Boy Advance, and the whole game is, it's like this weird action kind of RPG-ish kind of thing. You level up and get, you know, your stats up and things like that, and it's all the events of season 1 in this game, and, you know, kind of has like some fillery portions in the middle, like early missions and stuff like that. But I remember this part of the anime so vividly because in the game I didn't know what the fuck I was doing at this part, and it was so annoying because you had to shake these guys off of you if they managed to grab you. So they would stay on you and you couldn't fight, and they would slowly drain your health. So you had to punch them off of you, or like push them off of you by rapidly tapping a button. And sometimes I wouldn't get it, or I get stuck, and I think my Game Boy Advance, the button that I needed to press was kind of fucked up on it too. So I couldn't always get them off of me, and I would die so many times at that specific part of the game, and I fucking hated them. So every time when I saw them in the anime, I was just like, these little assholes. So Yusuke and Kuwabara are about to get eaten and killed when out of nowhere lightning strikes, and these 2 kind of like soulish like orbs, like your spirits, come and they terrify these little hooded monster things, and they run off. And then the 2 spirits land in the trees and they manifest. And who else would it be but Kurama and Hiei? So Kurama and Hiei show up. Kuwabara has no idea what the fuck's going on because he's never met these people yet. And Yusuke's like, oh shit, it's you guys. What's going on? So, pretty much, Kurama has sent Kurama and Hiei down to help Yusuke and Kuwabara, knowing good and well that this shit is going to be hard. This is going to be the hardest case thus far Yusuke has, as with every preceding case that happens in Yu Yu Hakusho. But Kurama knows he can't do this one alone. He was able to kind of get the 3 artifacts by himself with a little assistance from Botan and Kurama at one point. For the most part, he did the whole stuff in the rando arc. Kuwabara was there, did a couple of fights. But now it's 4 of these powerful demons in this castle. He's worried about Yusuke. So and Kuwabara is one person, but he's just a human, and he's not stronger than Yusuke. So Kurama and Hiei are there for backup, and also it's for their benefit as well. Kurama explaining that Koema's pretty much putting them on probation and will give them pardons for their crimes, as long as, you know, they help and cooperate. So that's the only reason why Hiei's there. Kurama's there for that, but Kurama's also a good guy. Hiei's not a good guy yet. I wouldn't even consider him an anti-hero yet. He's still a bad guy. He's kind of doing this for his own selfish reasons. And also, he's like, when this is settled, we're gonna settle the score, Yusuke, because last time that was some old bullshit. Which low-key it was. The spirit gun off the mirror was luck. But Kuwabara's like, cool, dude, I don't know who you guys are. I don't really know what's going on, but I'm glad to help some help. And Hiei's just like, look, this ain't help. y'all just stay back when we get in the castle. Me and Kurama will handle this. We're just babysitting as far as I'm concerned. So now we're already getting, right at the start, the dynamic that Kuwabara and Hiei will have for the rest of the series, in which Hiei has little to no respect for Kuwabara, and I feel like that does change as the series progresses. Hiei just doesn't really admit it, but he does respect Kuwabara to some degree. Even during this arc, he gains a little bit of respect for Kuwabara here and there, just, for his sheer bravery and will for not being a little punk and running away from a fight. But Hiei constantly disrespects Kuwabara, and Kuwabara fucking hates it. So they have, their little dynamic going on, and Kuwabara's just like, I'll fucking kill you, and he swings, and Hiei easily dodges it with his superior speed. He's just better than Kuwabara in terms of strength, and kind of ignores him. So they stop bickering, and the team starts making their way to Mei's castles. And Yusuke remarks, is this a team or what? So the squad has finally been formed. This is their first official case arc team up in the series, and this is a solid way to introduce them as a unit, as a squad. Just because each one of them got a fight, in each fight you got a good amount of insight into not only their fighting styles, but I mean, we've already seen Yusuke's fighting style and a little bit of Kuwabara's, but we see those fighting styles improved. You see a little bit more of their character and their motives and what makes them tick and this and that. So this is also the first time you ever see Kurama fight. Kurama has yet to fight in the series until this arc, so you get to see how awesome Kurama is in a fight, how fucking cold and calculating he is, according to Hiei. So they reach Mei's castle, they reach the entrance. Kuwabara's just like, well, what if we make them come out and fight us so they're not look like a bunch of sissies? And, Hiei talks shit, calls him stupid. Kuwabara gets mad. Yusuke's like, look, can y'all not right now? So they start walking, into the entrance, and it cutscenes up to like the main part of the castle, and the Saint Beasts are like kind of talking amongst themselves, and they're just like not really worried about them. It's like they won't even make it past the entrance, is pretty much what they're saying. So they're walking through the entrance, and this little demon floating eyeball comes up and like looks at them. And it's just like, oh, welcome to Mei's castle. And it's just like, you're here for your first test now. And Yusuke's like, well, what the fuck does that mean? And then the eyeball quickly flies over to a switch at the end of the entrance hall, like further down, flips the switch, and the ceiling above the entrance where the team is starts slowly falling down on them. And they're just like, oh shit. So they all stop it by holding it up together. But the weight is quickly starting to prove too much. And as the little eyeball guard explains, the gate of betrayal is what it's called. And essentially, the gate's mechanisms are able to read the total weight of anyone that comes into it, and like kind of like gathers it up, rounds it up, and makes a equal amount or more amount of weight on the ceiling that comes down to try to crush them. So it always has enough weight to slowly exhaust the people trying to hold the ceiling up and crush them. That's the whole point. But the reason why it's called the Gate of Betrayal is because there's always just enough wiggle room for one person to run to the end, leaving the rest of them to be crushed. So the eyeball puts that out there because they know that these guys aren't used to being a team at all. They're very much acquainted. Kuwabara does not know Kurama or Hiei. Hiei and Kuwabara are already off on the wrong foot. And Hiei sees Yusuke as an enemy. Kurama is like kind of like the most cool, calm-headed one, and he knows Hiei well enough. But even still, he's all panicked because they're not used to working as a unit. So they're already in trouble coming up into the entrance. And the episode ends here. And then, in typical Yu Yu Hakusho next time preview fashion, they fucking spoil what happens next time. And I hate that shit. Don't do that. If you haven't seen the series before or read the manga or knows what happens, it spoils it to see the next episode preview. So I hate when they do that. But whatever. We're moving on directly into the next episode. The second episode of what I watched. Give me a second. Let me just make sure I remember what the title is called. It is episode 15, titled Genbu, the Stone Beast. So, episode 15 leaves directly off where episode 14 ends. They're holding up the gate of Betrayal. They know that one of them has just enough time to escape, leaving the others crushed. And now that eyeball has left that sense of doubt between the group because they don't have a team dynamic yet. So as the eyeball's kind of like poking the bear, trying to make one of them move, and Kuwabara's just like, look, man, I'll kill you, I'll drag you back here myself if one of you tries to run. And Hiei remarks like, huh, really, you think that it'd be honorable for us to all die and get crushed together? And Kuwabara's like, yeah, like, come on, man, we're supposed to be a team. And Hiei's like, I have no intention of dying with you humans. And Kurama's like, don't even think about it. So they're starting to bicker amongst each other, and the eyeball's like chuckling to itself, and Yusuke's like, look, Hiei, you're the fastest one here. You can run all the way to the end quicker than any of us and turn that switch off so we can all get through. I'll hype my spirit energy up to the max to carry your weight, literally, to shoulder that burden just long enough for you to run over there and flip the switch. I just flipped the switch. But, Kuwabara's not down for that plan. He's like, we're really gonna put our faith in this guy? This dude fucking wants us dead. He doesn't care. And he is like, your ugly friend is right. And Kuwabara off screen's like, who's ugly? It's just, the banter between the group when they're just fucking talking casually after they're about to be crushed is fantastic. But, he is like, yeah, he's right though. What makes you think I'll just, waltz over there and turn the switch off? Why would I put my life at risk for you guys? And Yusuke's like, because I know you well enough from our last encounter to know you wouldn't do that shit. You want a fight between us, a fair rematch. He's like, look, Hiei, I trust you. Go. So, he is just like, whatever. So Yusuke pushes his spirit energy to the max and holds up Hiei's weight while the other two are still holding up, and Hiei dashes forward. So Hiei, super fast, in like seconds, probably less than that, zooms over to the other side and reaches the switch. Just as he's about to pull it, he stops. He kind of hesitates and he looks over, and he looks at the rest of them, and they're just like, dude, flip the switch, turn it off. And Kuwabara's like, you better not fucking just leave us here to die. And then the eyeball's like, you don't need them. You can join the castle. The four same beasts will make you a general in their army if you help us. And he is just like, you know what, that does kind of sound nice. And then the eyeball's just like, a wise decision. The boulder would have crushed you anyway. And then he is like, thank you for telling me that. He quickly draws his sword, and before the eyeball can react, he slashes it down the middle, and the eyeball's just like, ow, what the fuck? And it starts freaking out. He turns it off, flips the switch, turns the gate of betrayal off, and then a boulder suddenly falls down and tries to crush him. So Yusuke's like, oh fuck, Hiei, and they all run out. And I don't know why they thought Hiei would get crushed by this very slow falling boulder that he had plenty of time to get out of the way from him. Maybe one of you three? Okay, thinking about it realistically, maybe Yusuke or Kuwabara might have been in some trouble with that boulder. But Hiei is the fastest person in your team, as we just stated. That slow-ass falling boulder is not going to crush him, but sense of suspense. So the eyeball starts flying off. It's still alive, injured, as it flies back to like the main part of the castle. And we see Hiei unscathed. He's fine. He's like, go tell your masters that I have no intention of siding with them or pledging allegiance to them or shit. Like, he's like, look, nigga, you're not gonna flex on me. He left the eyeball alive for it to send a message. Hiei's not fucking playing games. we in this to win it. He's like, all of you are dying, I'm not joining up. So Yusuke's like, look, I knew you'd help out, I knew you'd be a good guy, and he is like, yeah, whatever. So they move on, and it goes back to the Four Saint Beasts talking, and they're just like, fuck, okay, they made it past the gate, and they're like bickering, and you can clearly hear Byakuya talking. They don't show them until like their actual fights. They don't reveal what the beasts look like. But Byakuya is clearly the one talking as he like crushes a wall and he's like, I'll kill them and I'll put their heads on pikes and bring them to the top of the castle and use them as an example. And then Genbu's like, no, I'll go. I'm the only one who can get out of the castle and talk to the people outside and see what's going on anyway. Let me just go down there and deal with them. So, cuts back, the team's still walking, and Yusuke gets a call on his communicator that Botan gave him before they end up leaving. It's another spirit detective item. So they're chatting, Botan's, taking care of a few of like the little spy goons for the Four Saint Beast, but she's only managed to find about 15 of these bugs. And she's like, I've only been able to find 15 in only like a day. And Yusuke's like, 15 in only a day? That's not nearly enough. And in the background, Kuwabara is trying to, sweet talk Botan. He's totally into her. And Yusuke gets him to shut up and get out of the way. And Botan's like, look, I'll do my best here and try to keep doing what I'm doing. You worry about your end of the bargain and get that whistle so the bugs will stop in general. So their communication stops. There's also a little scene where it's not right after this, it's somewhere in the episode where Koenma is like looking on information for the Four Saint Beast because it doesn't seem Spirit World has much information about what's going on with them. So they're trying to look it up in a book in one of the little libraries in Spirit World to get more info on what exactly the Four Saint Beasts are and what their abilities are, because they've been locked up in Mace Castle so long, it's kind of lost knowledge of exactly what they're capable of. We just know they're a threat. That's all they know. So we get to the first room. They hear a voice. The team is being guided by a voice leading them to this room. This room is dark. It's lit by a few like lanterns or like on the wall or braziers, whatever they're called. And it's just a stone room, a blank stone room. And they still hear the voice. And out from the ground or the wall pops up the first of the Four Saint Beasts we see, Genbu. The stone beast, of course. Genbu is like the turtle snake kind of thing, and his design's really interesting. He's completely made of stone, he's completely like rock, and he's kind of shaped like this demonic turtle thing with like this stinger-like tail on the end. And he's out there, he's just looking at them, and it intimidates Kuwabara, because this is like one of the first big demons Kuwabara's ever seen. He's like, yo, what the fuck? It's just like a big-ass rock monster. He and Kurama don't look very phased. Yusuke's looking confident because, he's already dealt with a couple of demons himself. So, the team's encountering Genbu. Genbu's talking his shit. He's like, look, why don't all of you come at me at once so we can get this over with? I'm gonna kill you all anyway. Genbu's pretty confident that he's gonna fucking murder them. And Kurama's like, nah, I'll just go and I'll see what's up about this. And Yusuke's like, Kurama, are you sure? And Kurama's like, look, we going in all together without knowing what this thing is capable of is not the smartest plan. We need to analyze it. We need to figure out what he's capable of. And this is where we start seeing Kurama genius double-edged sword kind of fighting style play in. So Yusuke is still a little worried, but Hiei reassures him that there's nothing to be worried about. He is like, you're really underestimating him. The reason why, Hiei says, the reason why he joined up with Kurama is so he wouldn't have to fight Kurama. Kurama is more cutthroat and calculating and cold when it comes to battle than Hiei is. And this is coming straight from Hiei's mouth, the badass of the group. So he's not lying when he says that. He's an intelligent fighter. He gets straight to the point. Once he knows your weakness and how to beat you and exploit it, he's going to do it. And he's not going to play around, which we will see. So the fight's starting. Kurama's like, the first move is yours. So Genbu is like, they're going back and forth, kind of chatting. Genbu's just like, oh, you really gonna challenge me by yourself? And his tail is going into the ground and like just warping into the earth, and then it pops up behind Kurama. Kurama's able to dodge it. Cool little scene of all these flips Kurama can do, and the fight kind of goes a little back and forth like that. Genbu is able to morph his stone body into other stone, which is why he's able to travel freely about the castle walls and get information from people outside of the castle, because he can mold into the walls of the castle. Whatever is stone, he can warp his body in. So he can travel at high speeds around the ground, along the walls, on the ceiling, and attack Kurama from different angles without him being directly seen. So Kurama's mostly dodging at this point in the fight. He's not really trying to launch an attack. He's avoiding blows, avoiding being pierced by Genbu's stone tail. And at the end of this first little bit of exchanges, Kurama's like, alright, you're kind of a one-trick pony. You can mold yourself in the walls and pop up somewhere else and attack like that, kind of warp yourself around the stone room. But that's about all you can do. So it's kind of predictable how your fighting style is. So we're gonna finish this up. So Kurama pulls a rose out from his hair, and by putting his spirit energy, infusing his spirit energy, or more likely his demon energy into it, as they would more likely say in the manga, he's able to use his signature technique, the Rose Whip. So, again, if you're not familiar with Yu Yu Hakusho, I don't know why you're listening to me spoil these episodes. Go ahead and watch Yu Yu Hakusho. Rose Whip is Kurama's de facto, like, true signature technique. It's his bread and butter for his fighting style. Kurama has the ability to control plants with his spirit energy, but the main thing he likes to use is a rose infused with his spirit energy that extends out into a whip-like weapon. So Kurama's weapon of choice is a whip. So Genbu goes for his, same generic attack again, and Kurama jumps up, reads his movements, finds out where he's going to appear, charges straight at Genbu in the air, and does a move he calls the Rose Whip Lash. And he swings his whip several times at a high speed past Genbu and splits Genbu apart. Like, Genbu falls on the ground in pieces, and Kurama lands safely, and, just beautiful and graceful as he is. And it just like that, it looks like the fight is over. Kuwabara and Yusuke are highly fucking impressed. They're just whoa, he just really did that. That was it? The fight's already done? Like, they were just like, damn. And Kuwabara's just like, man, what a wimp. He got beat in one hit. And he is just like, you idiot. It's only because Kurama did it. If you did it, you would have died in like less than a minute. Kuwabara's like, you won't fucking go. So they're bickering again, as usual, since they first met. And Yusuke's like, look, we have something to do. We need to go. Let's keep moving. So they're all about to leave, and Kurama stops him. He's like, it doesn't look like my fight's over quite yet. And they all turn around and see Genbu piece himself back together into, being whole again. So the teens, all of course, kind of like confused as to what's going on, mainly Yusuke and Kuwabara. Genbu is entirely made of stone. He's able to not only morph his body and travel through other earth and stone kind of objects and places, he's also able to split his stone body into pieces and use them as another attack. So now it's kind of like phase 2 of the boss battle, essentially. If phase 1 was Genbu warping around and trying to sting Kurama with his tail, phase 2 would be, okay, Genbu can now essentially use Android 16's Rocket Punch to split his body apart into pieces, have it soar across the battlefield, and dash past Kurama. So Kurama's dodging that. He's like, alright, well then I'll just break your pieces down even further, which he does with another Rose Whip Lash attack. He splits not only the stone pieces that Genbu separates, he shatters them into smaller like rocks and kind of pebbles and debris. But even then, Genbu is still able to freely control his body, even when it's split into debris like that. And it's soaring straight towards Kurama, it slashes across his stomach, and Kurama gets a nice, nasty, deep kind of wound. So Kurama falls to the ground, he's hurt, everyone's just like, oh fuck, Kurama. And this is something that is very consistent with Kurama. He always puts himself in very life-threatening situations purely to find the one true weakness of his enemy. And then he does the finishing blow. So there's rarely ever times where Kurama leaves a battle unscathed. There's only a couple of fights within Yu Yu Hakusho where Kurama walks away without any serious injury. Usually when he wins a fight, it's because he got seriously injured. He put himself in harm's way to get the W. It's a very double-edged sword fighting style, but that's just the way he thinks. He's like, we have to get to the bottom of the opponent's fighting style to break it down and exploit their weakness, so Kurama doesn't have to exert himself throughout a fight. He can just end the fight. But he always walks away bloody. Usually with a stab wound or a deep wound in his stomach is the main times Kurama gets hurt. So Kurama's figured it out. He noticed something when Genbu was flying apart, split up like that. So he's confident, he's standing there, and I believe it's the moment where Kurama gets slashed across his stomach is when he takes the upper hand of the fight. So Kurama does that, gets the wound, Genbu's laughing, everyone's kind of like, oh fuck, Kurama. And Genbu puts himself back together again, but now Yusuke and Kuwabara are laughing at him. And Genbu's like, what the fuck y'all laughing at? And then it zooms out because Genbu realizes what's going on. He reassembled, but he reassembled completely wrong. His body parts are put in places where they shouldn't be, like his head is between his legs. He had legs on top of where his head should be. He's just discombobulated. He's mixed up. And they're laughing. Kuwabara and Yusuke think this shit is hilarious. And Genbu's confused as to what happened. And he's like, looks at Kurama and he's like, what did you do? And Kurama pulls out a stone. It's kind of like this red glowing rock. And even Genbu doesn't know exactly what it is. And Kurama's like, this is kind of like the part of your brain that controls the functions of your body separating and putting itself back together. So when I took this and you reassembled, you didn't reassemble properly. It was essentially Genbu's core, kind of. And Genbu's like, hey, get that shit back though. And Kurama pretty much is like, nope. Tosses that bitch in the air and splits it in half with his rose whip. So that dissolves into dust, and then Genbu explodes into dust. He's gone. So when he destroyed that core, Genbu could no longer keep himself together, and he turned into rubble. And that is our first W of the 4 Saint Beast arc. Kurama takes the win, but it's not a 100% victory. There was kind of a trade-off. Kurama is injured. He kind of falls to his knees as the team cheers him on, and they're just like, oh shit, Kurama, are you okay? And he actually shows a bit of worry, because he's like, he was expecting this to be a 2-man job. He and Kurama were going to deal with the 4 Saint Beast. Yusuke and Kuwabara were going to sit back and watch. Now it's kind of like, oh, fuck, okay, so we're a whole man down. What are we going to do? And Yusuke's kind of like, dude, don't worry, we'll be fine. Kurama, you did your part, you got a W. And Kuwabara's like, yeah, dude, don't worry, I'll take the next one. So they're kind of, low-key celebrating their first win as they're about to move up to the next part of Maze Castle. Little do they know that, the fights are only going to get harder from here. So that ends that episode. So, what do I think about the start of Maze Castle? Like I said, I think this was a great arc to introduce the whole team as like a full unit in, because they don't have any experience. So you had that part with the Gate of Betrayal where they didn't have good teamwork, so they were worried about Hiei. You had your first fight that not only introduces you to the threats and unique abilities of these demons in Maze Castle, but you also see Kurama's first fight. So it was fitting that the first person to fight on the team this arc was Kurama, because it's the first time we ever see Kurama do battle. And it was interesting to see his fighting style and how Hiei was so dead on with how Kurama fights. Kurama threw 3 blows through that entire fight. He split Genbu apart. He split Genbu apart again. He found Genbu's core, split it in half, and ended the fight. Genbu threw a lot, like countless attacks at Kurama, and only really hit Kurama a single time. Kurama was 3 for 3. Genbu was like 1 for fucking 120. Like, Genbu barely touched him. The one wound Genbu did put on Kurama was a pretty... I don't want to say too serious, but it was enough to make Kurama not be able to battle kind of for the majority of the arc until like the later portions of the arc with the cultivated humans and whatnot. But even still, Kurama was precise. It's something you really take notice of if you really think about it. It's like, really think about that. Think about how many blows you've seen characters in Yu Yu Hakusho throw in a fight. Like Yusuke and Kuwabara especially. They're street fighters, and though Yusuke is a very naturally talented street fighter with a bit of martial arts training added onto that due to Genkai training with him, and Kuwabara is a pretty naturally talented brawler with a good psychic awareness, they're not always on the money with their attacks, clearly. We've seen that. So to see Kurama just land every shot he threw, and every shot mattered to either dealing damage or to figuring out how to defeat Genbu, was something like, damn, Kurama does not play. He is definitely here to win. Every fight is, for Kurama, is like kind of like a game of chess. He's cornering you. He's trying to get that checkmate on you as fast as possible without making too many moves. That's exactly what it is. Kurama wins fights with making the least amount of moves possible. He does not waste his energy. So it was... I like that fight with Genbu. That fight with Genbu is really short, and it's not like a super thrilling match in terms of like action, because it's mostly Kurama dodging and landing those decisive blows. But when you break it down like that, that's just who Kurama is. Kurama's not here for a good time, he's here for a long time. So, and that's the first fight. So next week, my man, the legend, the great, the GOAT, Kazuma Kuwabara is stepping up in his fight in the Maze Castle arc. He has the second Saint Beast Byakuo, the White Tiger. So that's kind of a 2-episode event. So we'll be covering episode 16 next week, which will be the first part of that fight, and then episode 17 is the conclusion. I really like that fight because it just shows... This is like this fight really defines what I talk about when I talk about Kuwabara, how usually when he's flexing and he's overconfident during a battle is when he takes the biggest L's. It's when he's just kind of relying on might makes right, and how he's just like, I'm just going to be this tough burly dude, run into this fight and win, is usually when he loses. It's only when he's actually relying on his powers and using his head to utilize his powers and relying on that psychic ability and his spirit sword's actual variety and versatility that he actually wins fights. And that's what I appreciate about Kuwabara's battles, because they always mean something. Kuwabara has a lot of growth through his fights. Yusuke grows as a character through not only fights, of course, that's one of the main things, but just development of meeting people and talking to people and chatting with people. He grows as a person like that. Kuwabara also grows through his fights, but it's kind of a more personal thing. He's growing more accustomed to his powers, and he's growing more accepting of them. Because like I said, during the Genkai tournament, he only went up to Genkai's house because he wanted her to use her abilities to turn his psychic powers down. He didn't want to deal with Ghost anymore. But as the series goes along, it becomes more of something he leans towards and relies on, which is something he should be doing. And that's when we see Kuwabara really shine. And this is one of the first little inklings or moments of that. So I'm excited to see that episode. But that's it. And then next week I'm going to do the Bleach tier list. I don't know if I'm going to watch the movies. I'm going to try to. I didn't end up doing that this week. But if I can find them online somewhere, I'll probably watch them and put them on the tier list too. Because I like some of the Bleach movies. I liked when I saw Memories of Nobody, like... When was it? It was years ago. I think it was like 2012 or 2013. It was at some point when they aired it on Toonami. I really liked that movie. I thought that was an actually well-written plot. Diamond Dust Rebellion is from my memory, okay. I don't remember anything in Fade to Black. Like, I don't remember a single part of that movie, except for I think that's the movie with Evil Rukia. That's about the only thing I remember. And then Hellverse, I don't remember much of either, but I like that. I remember liking that one too. So I'm a little iffy on Diamond Dust Rebellion and Fade to Black, but I know I liked Memories of Nobody and Hellverse when I saw it. I think Hellverse was really good because it was actually supposed to be an arc in Bleach. Kubo just didn't have the time to put it into the actual series, so it's cool that they took a lot of those ideas and made it a movie adaptation. Because I always wanted to know more about Hell in the Bleach verse, because they mention it like one time, and it's during season 1, where that when they kill that Hollow, instead of that soul ascending on to the Soul Society, since he was a bad dude before dying, he went to Hell. And that was the only mention of Hell in Bleach, so that was a cool movie to see more details about it, and I kind of wish it was a full arc. But it is what it is. I think they might be on Netflix, so I'll try to watch them. When it gets to that, I'll see this week. But other than that, that's about it for what we were doing today. I just wanted to do those 2 episodes to catch up. So next week we're only doing one Yu Yu Hakusho retrospective for episode 16 with that first half of Kuwabara versus Byakuya. I really like that fight, mainly just because I really like Kuwabara. But Kuwabara shows off some cool new techniques, so I'm excited to talk about that. Some cool new techniques that he never uses again, but nonetheless, that's about it for that. If I do get Storm 4 on the Switch, I'll let you guys know, and I'll talk about how it feels and how it performs in terms of that. Oh, I wanted to recommend a manga. I've talked about it a couple of times. It's one of my favorite series. I think it's I would say it's in my top 5. It's called Hitman Reborn. I think the full title is Katekyo Hitman Reborn or something like that. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But that is a really good shonen series. It has an anime, but the anime doesn't have the full story. It didn't animate the last 2 arcs. I guess it just didn't get enough TV reception. I guess it didn't get good ratings. Because I didn't watch the anime, I only read the manga, but I love that manga. It's weird because with Hitman Reborn, the vibes it gives you are really nostalgic, even if it's like your first time reading it. So it gives you that good feeling of like, I remember this, but I've never read this. Like I don't know how to explain it. It's just really good at doing that with its writing, and it's. Oh, I did talk about it. I talked about it a long time ago when I did an episode on slow burns versus slow starts. And Hitman Reborn is like a slow burn and a slow start at the same time, but the payoff is so good when you get to that payoff, because it starts off very comedy manga, like gag manga in the beginning. It's not supposed to be a shonen. And then all of a sudden, when you get 80 chapters in, it suddenly turns into a shonen, which would normally seem really random. Like, why the hell is this happening now? But it transitioned so smoothly in terms of character growth that becoming a shonen just felt natural for it. And then it just goes. It just hits from then to the end. The only issues I have, I think the second to last arc should have been the last arc, and the last arc should have been the second to last arc. That might sound weird for people who haven't read it, but the basis of those plots I feel like should have been reversed. The second to last arc seemed to have a more final arc plot feel to it. I don't know why she ordered it the way she ordered it. I mean, she probably didn't know what she was gonna do. She was probably a Discovery kind of writer at that point. But I recommend that, reading it or watching it. I haven't really watched the anime, but a lot of people like the anime too and swear by it, so I'm sure they did a good job. It is not dubbed. I don't think there's any dub of Hitman Reborn. I guess they never got the license to dub it in America. I think there might be a fan dub online, but as far as I know, there's not an official licensed English dub. It is only subbed. It's on Hulu, though. They have, I think, all the seasons, the animated seasons, on Hulu. So if you want to watch it on Hulu, you can. If you want to read the manga, I don't know where you can read it, legally at least. But allegedly, you could Google it, find it somewhere, allegedly. I downloaded the chapters from an allegedly legal site. I don't know. But, yeah, so read Hitman Reborn. It's a classic shonen. But, other than that, that's about it. Next week, we'll do the Bleach tier list and the next Yu Yu Hakusho retrospective. So, thanks for sticking with me. This should, like I said, it should go up on Apple Podcast in like a day or two. They said in the email that I have to wait 2 days. Like, I can see the episodes when I log into my account. I can see all my podcast episodes. But you can't search it on Apple Podcast or iTunes yet. They said I have to wait 2 days before it becomes searchable. But if you're going to search it up on Apple Podcasts, it's the same title as it is on here, 40 Ounce Fridays. And you should find it. The artwork is going to be that little drawing of me. But, okay, I'll see you guys next week. And if it does go up, I'll link it. I'll put the link up to the iTunes. But see you guys next week. Have a good Friday, and bye.
I'm just a little lost, keep off topic. And if we're on the topic, then yes, I lost it. Don't worry about me, I'm not sinking. It's just after every thought, shit got me thinking. And I'm just a little lost, keep off topic. And if we're on the topic, hell yes, I lost it. Don't worry about me, I'm not sinking. It's just after every thought, shit got me thinking. You got me thinking. You got me thinking. You got me. You got me. You got me thinking. You got me thinking. You got me. You got me.